Hi guys, welcome to Book Time. My name is Julia. Today is going to be a haul for the last couple of months or the last month. I'm not sure. It's basically the books I bought or have got from people since I last did a haul, which was a month or two ago. Sorry if you can hear my baby grunting in the background. He is rolling around on the floor here and making all sorts of sounds. As usual, if you've watched this channel before, you will know that he makes an appearance frequently. So there he is. So these are the books I got in no particular order. The first couple I did get really cheaply on sale. So one is an Australian authored middle grade fiction novel. The first in a series, maybe a trilogy, not sure. I know that currently there's two available, so presumably there'll be more. It's Ottilie Coulter and the Narroway Hunt. This was shortlisted for the Readings Prize for Children's Fiction a couple of years ago, maybe. Oh, it also was the winner of the Ampersand Prize, which I have a feeling is an unpublished manuscript award. Not sure. This is published by Hardy Grant Edgemont, and it sounds really cool. I'm just going to read to you from the blurb. When Ottilie's brother Gully goes missing, her search for him leads her to the Narroway. Oh, the Narroway trilogy. That's what the series is called. So yes, there will be a third one. The Narroway, a place so hidden it's not marked on any map. There she makes a dangerous discovery. A mysterious organisation is kidnapping boys and training them to hunt. Ottilie must disguise herself as a boy if she wants to rescue her brother. But why is the hunt such a secret, and just what will the boys be hunting? So on the picture there's like a girl with a bow and arrow and a giant magical winged cat creature thing. Looks cool. I'm pretty excited to read it. Sorry about the lighting. I'm filming in a weird place in my house and the weather is very temperamental, so the lighting might change, and I'm not in my normal location because there's more room for the baby here to be on the floor. It's not like the old days when I could just wear him in a on the couch in a pouch on myself and he'd sleep. No, those days are gone. So the next one I got was The Hoarder by Jess Kidd. I picked this up because actually what I wanted to buy was Things in Jars, which is her more recent novel, but the bookstore that I was at, which was sort of like a pop-up sale bookstore, like everything was on sale. So that's where I got the Ottilie Coulter and this. They were only $5 or $6 each, I think. So it only had this one. It didn't have Things in Jars, but I picked it up. And I think this is sort of like a mystery with gothic vibes. I'm going to read you the blurb again because I'm unoriginal like that. Maud Drennan, underpaid carer and unintentional psychic, is the latest in a long line of dogs' bodies for the ancient belligerent Cathal flood. Yet despite her best efforts, Maud finds herself drawn into the mysteries concealed in this filthy, once grand home. She realises something is changing. Cathal and the junk-filled rooms are opening up to her. With only her agoraphobic landlady and a troupe of sarcastic, ghostly saints to help, Maud must uncover what lies beneath the decades-old hostility of the house. And is there a secret there? How far will they go to ensure it remains buried? So it's like mystery, gothic house vibes. I'm into it. I think it'll be good. I think I've heard good things about this on BookTube too. Can't remember who from, but I remember seeing it and thinking it sounded like something I would enjoy. So hopefully I get to that one soon. I always say that. I mean, obviously I hope to get to it soon. That's why I bought it. So the next one I bought was Carpinteria by Alexis Wright, out through Giramondo, which is an Australian indie press. So Alexis Wright, this won the Miles Franklin in 2007, and she also won the Stella Prize a couple of years ago for Tracker, which is a non-fiction book of similar length. She's into the chonkers. Alexis Wright is. I'm supposed to be buddy reading this with Jacqueline, Simon and Natalie, and I haven't started it. Well, that's not true. I read the first few pages, but then my whole family got really sick and I ended up in hospital with my baby. We're all totally fine now. But this book is quite, it's got quite a dense prose style where you need to really concentrate and focus in order to be able to absorb it. And I do love that type of prose style, but when you're sick and have had no sleep in 5 days and your kids are sick, like this is not the type of book you want to be reading. So I haven't started it yet, though now we're recovered. I hope to start it soon and catch up with the others. It sounds really cool. Again, just going to read the blurb. Carpinteria is an epic of the Gulf country of northwestern Queensland. In the portrait of life in the precariously settled coastal town of Desperance centres on the powerful Phantom family, leader of the West End Pricklebush people and its battles with old Joseph Midnight's renegade East End mob on the one hand, and the white officials of Uptown. So I should mention Alexis Wright is a member of the Wanyee Nation, and so this book is also about the Indigenous people and white colonisers, like that relationship as well. It sounds like a pretty rollicking tale. The novel teems with extraordinary characters. Thanks, Harry. Outcast saviour Elias Smith, religious zealot Mozzie Fishman, murderous Mayor Bruiser, moth-ridden Captain Nicole Finn, activist Will Fanton, and above all the rulers of the family, queen of the rubbish dump and fish embalming king of time, Angel Day. That was a bit of a mouthful, so that probably made no sense in reading it out loud, but I think it's going to be fun, if not quite a dense book that I need to pay some attention to. But I want to start reading longer books. This one is... Actually, it's only like 500 pages, but that's pretty long for me. Basically, for books like more than 300 pages, it counts as long for me. And I think this will count as a big book because it's also quite dense stylistically. So I'm excited to report back on this. Hopefully, I'll finish it over the summer. It's summer here in Australia. That's why I said that. Not a mistake. The next one I received is not Australian. This was sent to me by the beautiful Charlie Brooke from across the oceans, across the world. This came to me from the UK. It is The Lost Words by Robert McFarlane and illustrated by Jackie Morris. And this is... Oh, I'm going to lean back so you can see it. This has been... like when this came out, this got a fair bit of buzz on BookTube, and it's called a spell book. And it's basically all these poems in the order of, like... It's basically all these poems about the natural world in Britain. So it's all sort of English things. And it's poems about them, but they're also in the order of the alphabet. So the first one's acorn, the second one is bramble, fern, and anyway, it goes in order of the whole alphabet, and then each poem is an acrostic. But they're not simplistic, they're actually quite eerie. Like some of them are quite eerie, some of them are funny, but they're all very clever and beautiful. And the idea of it, as he says in the foreword, is to sort of reintroduce the language of nature to children, because I think what instigated it, or at least what happened at the same time, was some words to do with nature, or a word. I'll find a link down below anyway, was removed from the Oxford English Dictionary, and the justification was that children are not as immersed in nature as they used to be, and so it's not in as common usage. Robert McFarlane was appalled by this, and so created this beautiful book to try and teach children the words again. So I've been reading this with my daughter, and even though we live in Australia, so a lot of these species we don't have, she loves it, but a lot of them we do, and that's partly because we're familiar with a lot of British species because of other storybooks, but also because a lot of them have been introduced here in Australia. The illustrations are stunning. I'll put a couple of clips in. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Charlie. I adore it. It's so nice, and I keep wanting to go back to read it, and makes me really want to go to Britain again and seek out some of the animals and plants that I haven't seen before in person. So I think that's really beautiful. The next one was another one I bought. It's another middle grade one because I love middle grade. Iris and the Tiger by Leanne Hall. This came out in 2016 from Text. So it's another Australian one. Beautiful cover, designed by Imogen Stubbs. She is, I think, the main cover designer for Text. Anyway, every time you see a beautiful cover, basically, from Text, it's Imogen Stubbs. She's so good. She's won lots of awards. In any case, I've read about half of this, or almost. This is really fun. It's about this girl, Iris, who gets... Her parents send her over to Spain to stay with her great aunt because they want her to ingratiate herself with the aunt. So the aunt leaves her giant Spanish estate to Iris, or Iris's parents, in her will when she dies. But when Iris gets there, her aunt is this kind of eccentric, quirky, absent woman, but with heaps of paintings because Iris's great uncle was an artist. And basically the paintings start coming to life, or life starts imitating the paintings. I'm not sure yet, but it's kind of like a fun, magical mystery. And I'm enjoying it so far. It's really cute and kind of quirky with likeable characters. Sorry about the background noise again. The last one I got, I'm also halfway through this one, is New Australian Fiction 2019. So this is an anthology of Australian fiction, and it was curated, collated, anthologized, whatever you want to call it, by Kill Your Darlings magazine, which is an Australian magazine, I suppose, that focuses on cultural commentary and politics, literature, movies, film, like stuff about gender, sexuality, racism, all sorts of things. It's a really great journal. They were the first magazine that ever published me in my career as a writer, so I have a very, like a big soft spot for them. They do a lot of work for emerging writers. And this is their first collection of fiction that they've put together and released, and it's really, really good. So it's got a bunch of big names that if you live in Australia, you will have heard of. So I don't know if you can hear Harry's like scrunching. 1 minute. It has a lot of big names in it, so Tony Birch, Julie Coe, A.S. Patrick, who won the Miles Franklin a couple of years ago, Laura Elizabeth Woolett, she published Beautiful Revolutionary and For the Love of Bad Man, both of which did really well, and a bunch of other names that I have, you know, people, some of them have published 1 or 2 books, others are writers I hadn't heard of before. But it's actually a really good collection. I'm often pretty wary of anthologies like this because I find them a bit hit and miss, because it feels like a bit of a mishmash of styles and tones and themes and stuff. And this is that. All the stories are... It is a bit of a mishmash. Not a mishmash, but it is an anthology in the sense that all the authors are different and have different approaches and styles and themes and content and stuff. But they're all really good, and some of them are really intense. Like there's this one by a guy, Jack Kern, who I hadn't read before, that was this really poignant story about loneliness. It's about this young man who lives sort of in a shack on the Australian coast, and basically another young man who's the nephew of the original guy's landlord comes to stay with him, and they form this sort of intense, not a relationship, but it's almost like a queer friendship, very close, homoerotic but not quite. They barely speak, but it's just this really touching story of their need for connection, basically. And it was really well written. Julie Coe, who's written a book, she's got a short story collection out called Portable Curiosities. She's a really good writer. She's got one in here about a haunted fireman's jacket from Japan that haunts the woman who buys it. It's really cool. Laura Elizabeth Woolett. I'm just talking about the big names. I don't need to. There was one by a man called Joshua Kemp who I had not heard of before, but that was like a really intense gothic tale like about losing yourself, and it was sort of about self-harm and drugs, but not really about those things. It was more to do with how to escape yourself through various means. Anyway, it was really dark and intense and cool, and it's all sort of also about the Australian bush and the forest and the trees, and yeah, that was really powerful. The only thing about that I didn't love was that the female character was a bit of a plot device, like a saviour sort of presence. Bit of a tired old trope, but apart from that, it was really cool, and I would definitely read something from him again. In fact, all of the authors, particularly the ones I hadn't heard of, I was looking up the contributor notes at the back, trying to see if they had published other stuff, because I was like, these are all so good. It's probably not available overseas, but you might be able to get it on, you can definitely get it on ebook. It's on Kindle, so I think this would be a good one over the summer break here, maybe the Christmas break if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, because the stories are all of a similar length, which isn't very long. They're probably 10 to 12 pages each, so they're really good for picking up and reading in one sitting just in between times. And I find it really handy as a parent because you only get snippets of time here and there to just pick it up and read 1 or 2 stories. So yeah, this was good. I gave it 4 stars. I think that was all I got in recent times. May have forgotten some, don't know. If I did, I'll just include them in the next haul. There's one more that I want to talk about. It's not strictly a book. Well, it is a book, but it's not a novel. It's like a planner from Milligram, which I think is an Australian company. And it's kind of a diary planner sort of thing, but it's called for task-oriented people. And normally I am a very go with the flow, don't want to be too organized, don't want to be tied down type of person. But it was that aspect of my life and myself was starting to stress me out because I have a lot going on at the moment, but it's all in bits and pieces. So I'm parenting, but I also am making YouTube. I'm also reading a lot. I'm also a PhD student, so I'm trying to work on my thesis. I'm also a writer, so I've got my writing work, and it's all sort of like shambled together in my life. So anyway, having this planner, and it's got like, it comes with all these stickers, which all good planners should. But for example, this is a weekly list. So it's got the week down here and then your weekly goals and then room for notes. But it's also got space for your monthly goals and your yearly goals. And then it's got an overall monthly planner as well. So I'm just finding all the different breakdowns of how to break down your tasks really helpful. You can get these online. I mean, all sorts of brands do these sorts of planners and agendas, but I am really enjoying having one. And I'm not sure how long this organizational streak is going to last, but so far it's helping me feel on top of things because I just don't have to hold everything in my head. Not that revolutionary, I know. Anyway, guys, let me know if you picked up anything new recently, and I bet we're all going to be getting lots of books over Christmas, or if not for Christmas, then in the sales after Christmas. That's my plan. And chat soon. Bye.